When you go back and watch the 1997 comedy Liar Liar, it's hard to imagine anybody other than Jim Carrey in the lead, but there were actually a few big comedic names considered for this film before Carrey would step in and make comical magic out of it. So let's dive into Liar Liar to talk development, production, box office returns, and just overall how this grounded little film manages to have a timeless quality.
I wish that for only one day Dad couldn't tell a lie.
Mama!
What's happening out there, everybody? I'm Anthony DeJoya. This is Movies Never Say Die. We're talking Liar Liar today, and this movie had actually been in development going back as far as 1994. Paul Gray and Stephen Mazur wrote a script revolving around this sleazy real estate agent who deceived his clients, and it was written with comedic legend Steve Martin in mind for the lead. This would have given Liar Liar a much different premise, with Martin's older character being already established in his career. He'd still be married, but in a bad marriage, and he'd have multiple kids. However, Martin would turn down this role due to scheduling conflicts with his other film at the time, Sergeant Bilko. Which leads us into a little bit of a fun fact, because Steve Martin would also turn down the role of Lloyd in Dumb and Dumber, which would of course also go to Jim Carrey. So with Martin out of the picture here, Robin Williams was offered the role, but he also declined. The script was then taken back. It was reworked by an uncredited Judd Apatow, who changed the character to a younger lawyer who's now a single dad co-parenting his younger son. And honestly, I think this is the perfect premise. I mean, who lies more than lawyers? So one who can't lie for 24 hours is much more comedically rich than a real estate agent. Now, with a younger character in mind for the lead, names like Hugh Grant and Eddie Murphy and Mike Myers were all in consideration, which leads us into another fun fact. Mike Myers would actually turn down this role in order to do Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery. Jim Carrey would turn down the role of Dr. Evil in Austin Powers in order to star in Liar Liar, which had to be a huge get for this film. Carrey was massive at the time with Ace Ventura and The Mask and Dumb and Dumber and Batman Forever and Ace Ventura 2 and The Cable Guy in just a 3-year span. Carrey would get a hefty $20 million paycheck for this movie, and he was able to select his director in Tom Shattuck, who he had previously worked on with Ace Ventura. Both Carrey and Shattuck felt Liar Liar was an opportunity to veer into more grounded comedy, and in particular Carrey, who was more interested in this movie because he wouldn't have to spend hours in the makeup chair or have to change his own hair.
I looked at the script when I first signed on, and I went, okay, I don't have a green head. I don't have, I'm not, going to be 3 hours in hair.
Filming would take place in Los Angeles from July to October of 1996, and for the most part, it was a relatively smooth shoot, despite the usual comedic antics of Carrey, who would reportedly frequently veer off script to improvise, which resulted in longer than planned shoots, which did cause some frustration at times amongst the cast and crew. But I mean, you kind of got to let the man do his work and play with these ideas, because when he does so, you never know what you're going to get.
Never want to cut the camera on Jim, because you never know what's going to happen. Sometimes I'll let the camera go ridiculously long, because you never know what spirit is going to burst forth from Jim, and he does some really wild, fun stuff at the end of takes, so we always let that go.
And it certainly worked, because Liar Liar is a hilarious film. It was a commercial success, and it's because of the vibrant performance from Carrey. The film would pull in more than $31 million opening weekend to be the second highest grossing 3-day opener of all time for Universal Pictures, behind Jurassic Park. And I mean, think about that for a second. A traditional, grounded story about redemption and lying was able to come in second place behind the mega hit Jurassic Park. And for 5 years, Liar Liar would be the largest March opening film until Ice Age would beat it out in 2002. And on a $45 million budget, it would gross $302 million worldwide. And Carrey would be nominated for Best Actor in a Comedy at the Golden Globes that year. He would lose to Jack Nicholson, and with all due respect to Nicholson, and As Good as It Gets was a great film that year, but Carrey's comedic performance was far superior, and there's no denying he should have gotten the win. Because Liar Liar is such a well-rounded comedy, it's really built on two threads. You get Carrey's Fletcher Reed, an up-and-coming lawyer looking to make a name for himself. Then you get the redemption story with Fletcher and his son. The courtroom sequences are the comedic focal points of this film, and Fletcher redeeming himself to his son to be a good father is really, I think, what fuels the emotional, heartfelt core of the film. I think both of these story layers are able to work together and grow together effectively for this film. There's no denying Carrey having to tell the truth, and the courtroom sequences are the bright spots for the laughs, but seeing him at a constant wit's end trying to navigate a court case with a horrible woman played up by Jennifer Tilly is just absolutely hysterical. I think the writing is well crafted, and it's naturally amplified through the animated performance from Jim Carrey. But on top of all this, Liar Liar is able to add even more variety to the comedic atmosphere when his inability to lie seeps out into Fletcher's life outside of the courtroom, which results in a bunch of different comical scenes. Fletcher and his ex-wife Audrey have a lighthearted chemistry despite their separation. It does fuel the will they won't they angle to the story, and you have to love the scenes between Carrey and young Justin Cooper as his son Max. This adorable little kid loves his dad so much, and Fletcher is too self-absorbed to see it. You know he's going to get there eventually, and seeing it play out is just a perfect timestamp to the simple comedies from the 90s that relied on just a grounded sense of humor and comedically gifted actors. Carrey is surrounded by a great supporting cast. I think everybody gets a line in here and there to add to the amusement, and from start to finish, Liar Liar is laugh out loud hilarious. There are so many hysterical lines in this movie. Most notable for me would be the "I've had better" response to sleeping with his boss. As for favorite scenes, easily the boardroom roast. It's such a chaotic and comical sequence. The pen is blue scene is a great showcase of Carrey's physical comedy, much like the scene where he kicks his own ass in the bathroom. All of it is just comedic gold. There are so many more I'm forgetting to mention at the moment, but as a whole, Liar Liar is a comedy that can hold its place in the genre over time because of its just broad audience appeal and its accessibility. Movies like Ace Ventura and The Mask and Dumb and Dumber, while hilarious, just don't have that same wide audience overlap as a movie like Liar Liar does, which is why it will always be one of Carrey's best films. And that's it for today, guys. That's my look back at 1997's Liar Liar. It's a great film. Let me know down in the comments what some of your favorite Jim Carrey movies are. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and until the next one, movies never say die.
This is Jack Burton in the Pork Chop Express, and I'm talking to whoever's listening out there.
Survive a war, you gotta become war.
I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
You trying to say Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball?